Hey, it's Dennis O'Brien back again on Let's Talk About It. Today I'm doing the show without Susan Johnson. Susan Johnson right now is visiting the summer home of somebody who I idolize. When I was born, he was president of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt, up in Campbell. It's not in Maine, it's right over the border in Canada. And I've been there before because Susan's father grew up there, and she's taking a trip up there. She does it every year for a weekend or so with the kids, and with kids being Leslie O'Brien, her daughter, and Katie Kidd. And she's up there today, and she wishes she could be here to interview my guest today, State Senator Cathy Osten, who is works with Susan quite a lot, and who I've known for many years. Susan would love to be here, but the timing of the trip just didn't work. So I'm here with State Senator Osten. I go back a long way with Cathy Osten. I can remember when she first started running for office in the General Assembly back in a while ago, and I used to do a show on television called Town Talk, and I used to have I think for quite a while she was my most frequent guest on Town Talk, and that was on Charter, which is now Spectrum TV. Don't do that anymore, but we did it for a long time, and she was always available, and she was a great guest, and we love to have her on, and I'm just so happy to have you back on with me.
Well, thank you very much for having me come. I really appreciated it. It is important to get together and chat about what's going on. This is I'm just finishing up the tail end of my 7th term as a state senator and running for my 8th. That's where we are right now.
One other anecdote I've got to say is Dorothy Grady, who I'm sure you know well from Coventry. I've known Dorothy for like 40 years when I was a legal aid lawyer, and she worked for Coventry. And she put a picture on Facebook today of Ned Lamont and who was it? Oh God, she was. I know, Edith Prague.
Oh,
that's my lead-in. Edith put a picture of Ned Lamont and Edith Prague at my 75th birthday party. In fact, I just had another birthday party, and you were there.
I was there.
You were
yes.
there in the backyard.
Yes, I was.
Fantastic.
I was walking around talking to people.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things going on that day, as I recall.
For you, always.
Yep. And of course, everybody knows Edith. Edith was a stalwart. She was my predecessor in this seat. And Edith used to tell me all the time, Cathy, you have to be the loud voice for those people who have no voice. And I've taken that to heart. And some people will say, Cathy, you're a little bit brash. I said, nope, I'm not brash enough. There are still people out there who need things. So let's keep moving.
I couldn't agree more, having been in legal aid for 23 years and still fighting the good fight to try to help the needy. And they certainly need help now. But anyway, and that's not as a result of anything that's happening in Connecticut. It's coming from Washington, as far as I'm concerned, for the most part. But anyway, I want to get back to Edith because I remember Edith was a huge proponent of your candidacy to replace her, and I can remember that you told me on the air once that, or maybe more than once, about how many pairs of shoes you wore out in your first campaign when you ran in the I don't know, was it the 19th district then?
It was the 19th district then. I can't even remember how many pairs of shoes.
It was a lot.
It was 10 or 15 pairs of shoes. It was a lot of shoes, but I did 10,000 doors, knocked on 10,000 doors in that campaign. And right now I'm doing 10,000 steps almost every day.
That's wonderful.
So I try to stay moving. It's good for the soul.
You're always moving, Cathy, and I know that, and I think doing doors is, I'll tell you what, I did a lot of doors when I was running for probate. Nobody's done more doors in this town than my wife, Susan Johnson. And speaking of Susan Johnson, she is also, she was a big, fan of Edith, and Edith was with her all the way. Edith supported her from the get-go. She's been in, she got in a few years before you did into the House. And Edith was with her all the way. Edith was always on one of her postcards, and with the two of them together, I thought they made a great team. And I know that there's a lot. I think there's a lot. You have a lot in common with Edith and also with Susan.
Yes.
Fighters for the for the good people.
Correct.
And well, everybody's good, but fighters for the people that really need help.
Right.
And that's great. And that's another reason why Susan would love to have been on the show, but she's not able to be here today.
Well, everybody needs a vacation, although she has to come back and finish qualifying for the clean election program.
That's right.
That's not quite. She's not quite there.
No, she's not quite there.
And my but getting close. And my mission is to make sure that all of the current legislators get qualified for the Clean Elections program. It's a fantastic program that allows regular, ordinary people, those that don't have much, to qualify and run for state office.
Well, as I tell people who think that I'm more than middle class, I said, no, I am solid middle class. That's what I am now, and I don't expect to be anything more than that, and we're not wealthy. And so, the Citizens Election Program, you might want to talk about it a little bit more for the listeners. It's a great program, and I think you may have had something to do with. I don't know. Maybe it came after you.
No, it came before me.
Before you, yeah. But
it came when Edith was state senator, and it just allows for a leveling of the playing field for people to run for office, so that it allows a regular person who's not necessarily upper middle class. I consider myself middle class, so maybe not quite in the middle class.
Middle.
And
as long as my Social Security holds up.
Yes. Yeah. So I do think that there are things that it really does level the playing field.
Great program. Another great program that Connecticut has introduced. Connecticut is a great state. I've lived here all my life. It is not perfect, but when I travel around the country, I've gone to a lot of seminars all over the country. When I was a probate judge, Susan and I would go, and then she would insist on going. We got to go to that. She likes to travel. And we would go. I've been to some of hers, but I don't go to all of hers because just too much. But getting around the country, I come back here, and I really appreciate Connecticut.
Yeah, Connecticut's a great country, great state.
Another anecdote before we get into more detail is that I once taught as a substitute. I once taught a class at community college out in Danielson, and the class was 3 hours long. And I love to talk, as everybody who listens to us knows. And I thought I could handle a 3-hour class by myself with people that were like 2 generations younger than me. But I realized it would be good for me to bring in speakers who were working in the field of criminal justice. And the first person I asked to be a speaker at my class was Kathy Austin, and that was great. You came in and talked for one full hour segment of the show. I call it a show, and it was wonderful. And I had other speakers come on after you, but every week actually until the end of if I could get one. And you spoke about your experiences with the state of Connecticut.
Yep, I worked for the Department of Corrections. I worked in 7 correctional facilities. Male and female, minimum and maximum. So minimum, medium, and maximum. So I ran the gamut working in those facilities.
Talk about an important job and an educational experience.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, you see a lot of different things. It's an important job. The people that work there are doing really great work, and it's hard. It's hard work. Actually, before I retired from corrections, I started a program called High Tech, which is a health initiative to work with correctional staff. It's a grassroots, a bottom-up program, and it's gotten national attention. It's still going on. It's a very inexpensive program. It's a lot to help people deal with the stress of working shift work. The correctional staff broadly have the highest suicide rate of any other Connecticut employees that work for the state of Connecticut. It's one of the toughest jobs that people can do, and it's really hard. And then, as far as the incarcerated population, you learn where people come from. And, there are people that belong in jail. They are.
I agree.
And
Violent people.
Yep. There
I think
are.
of them. Yeah.
We need to have it for public safety. There are some people that we're finding more and more, in particular, young people that end up incarcerated that have special education needs that have never been diagnosed in their local elementary school. And in the state of Connecticut, one policy that I'd really like to have us look at is we do a numeric to identify someone as intellectual and developmental disabilities. You have to be at a 69 IQ or lower. But if you're 70, they don't consider you developmentally disabled, and yet you need a boatload of help. And so most states don't do the numeric identification anymore. They do it based on the needs of the individual, and I'd like to change that so that we're not. It's not if someone is developmentally disabled, being incarcerated is probably not the best thing for them.
No. That's probably that's a bright line rule. That's called the cliff, falling off the cliff.
Right.
And I think what you're suggesting would be much more better, especially with my experience in the probate court dealing with needy people, and also in legal aid. That I've run into a lot of people that needed help, and it's one of the reasons why I am a huge advocate for public schools, and always have been. In fact, public schools did me well. Growing up in New Britain, and my parents were not educated, very smart, but not educated. They were Depression era, and they worked in the factories. And I learned a lot from growing up in those circumstances and from working there. But you're absolutely right. That is something that it's hard to. The state is never going to be perfect. We're not even going to come close. But we can do our best, and I think we do our best in a lot of situations.
Right.
And you go to another state, and wow, if something befalls you that would be addressed well here, forget it. You're in big trouble.
Well, we have great health care in the state of Connecticut.
Great point.
We have great educational systems. I do think that the state has developed policies that clearly outline magnet schools are public schools in Connecticut, charter schools are public schools in Connecticut.
Yeah.
We don't have the problem of either one of those school choice options that other states do because of the laws that we have had holding them. And the work that Representative Walker and I have done to make sure that it doesn't impact the financial resources of the schools.
Right.
So it doesn't impact neither one of those types of schools, and neither magnet nor charter impact or VOTEC or VOAG impact the money that a local public school, traditional public school gets.
Yeah.
And in Eastern Connecticut, which I'm always so very proud of, both the charter school that's in New London and the charter school that's in Norwich are unionized workforces.
Cool.
So there's just not the problems that other people seem to think that are there.
Right.
In Norwich, it's a regional school, and so is our public high school, which is the Norwich Free Academy, which is considered an endowed academy, but of the 9 communities that go there, 5 of them are distressed municipalities. So we know what it's like to have kids of need in Norwich and in our surrounding communities, and working together is a really good thing. The charter school has 600 children on a wait list.
Wow.
That's how many parents, that's how many children are there, and their parents would like to have them have the opportunity of school choice. So I think
You're
it's
talking
something we
about
should
public
talk
charters,
about.
public schools,
charters. Yep.
Yeah, because I think there are others that are private. No,
Not
be.
Not in Connecticut.
Not anymore.
Not in
They
Connecticut.
did have them at one time, I think.
We took care of that a long time ago.
Okay, that might have been before you even got to
Yep.
the General Assembly. I don't know, but I know that my biggest concern is the 7 towns that are in the lowest erg. And
Right.
have been there for since long before I left legal aid in 1995. And I know I was hired by the city of Norwalk along with an associate of mine to write a paper on what could they do about it. And I got into the issue back then, and because of my own experience in public school, which was wonderful, growing up in New Britain. Back then, when all the factories were still there, and everybody had a job, New Britain was a great place. And what has happened to Hartford is dismays me a lot in terms of public schools, and I think we could do better in that regard. And the 7 towns are we have 2 in this part of the state that are in that lowest New London and Wyndham. So, but anyway, we're doing better with them too because of the ECS. And for the last 10 years, ever since the CJEF case, and I was on the steering committee of the CJEF case, and I remember the result. Judge McCousher did a marvelous job in the trial court. I watched the whole thing, and I was amazed at what he did. He pointed out all of the issues that I could think of with the public schools, and our public schools are rated, top in the country, or right close to the top, and he did a great job, but it was lost on appeal. But the legislature responded to it by really getting a lot more funding through the ECS into those towns that are most had the largest achievement gaps.
Right.
So the Connecticut General Assembly does respond to issues in a very, very, very good way. One of the ways that you responded was with the the cuts that were being made at the federal level, and that I think it's amazing. It's kind of like a unusual in on the national scene how much Connecticut has done. Led by the governor and the leaders of the legislature, including yourself. You're one of the people in the leadership group, correct?
Well, you
attend those meetings.
I attend some of them, not all of them. I'm not leadership. That's just considered the majority leader and the president of the Senate and the majority leader in the House and the speaker. So those 4 are generally considered our leadership.
Yep.
And I'm chair of appropriations, certainly a very important committee.
I'd say it's the most important in my view. In my humble opinion, I am HO.
And so I do think that it's certainly something of real import when Representative Johnson, Senator Flexer come to me with issues for Willimantic. We address those issues.
Right.
Senator Flexer has a much broader scope of work, and I think that that's important for us to recognize that in Eastern Connecticut, we push hard to get what I consider our due to make sure that our residents are getting the help that they need. So.
Okay, we're going to take a break now and let our sponsors do their thing, and we wouldn't be on without them. They do a great job, especially the Gates Group, Columbia and in Wyndham. And anyway, we'll be right back with State Senator Kathy Austin talking about what's going on in the General Assembly. Dennis O'Brien back again here on Let's Talk About It with State Senator Kathy Austin from Baltic, actually.
Yep.
You're from the Baltic section of Sprague. Okay, that's
it's a very busy place. We have 3 villages and a town the size of 3,000 people.
Right.
We take care of a lot of business.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that far away. It's pretty much a stone's throw. I'll bet you that you could pick up this on 95.3 FM. You could pick up the show. Yeah, that's cool. And you've got Columbia. Oh, let's talk about your district. You've got 10 towns. Am I going to make you go through the whole 10?
I can do it. It's really easy.
I bet you can.
I said it's Marlborough.
I bet you can.
Marlborough, Hebron, Lebanon, Columbia, Sprague, Franklin, Norwich, Lisbon, Ledyard, Montville. And the 2 federally recognized tribal nations lands sit within the confines of my district. So I do a lot of work with the Native American community in Connecticut. I took them on a number of years ago, and I love the work.
Something else we could talk about in the second half of the show. I got to say, when I was in legal aid, we got a grant from somebody to represent the tribes, and I got to know this guy named Moonface Bear.
Yep, he was Golden Hill Bagusset.
That's right, from Bridgeport.
Yep, but they El Grasso gave them about 200 acres in Colchester to take the place of the land that had been taken from them and sold off. And they have a quarter of an acre down in Trumbull. Sharon Piper is Clan's mother, Piper, and she and her whole family do a lot of work. So
I remember the Pipers, yeah. I remember the first time I met him, he was wearing bandoleros, and I went, ooh.
yeah, he is actually buried on the reservation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy. I enjoyed working with him. I wasn't with him for too long, but I did get to know him, and
Good
very
man.
smart guy, good man.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I met some of the people from the tribes, the Eastern Connecticut tribes too, but I don't remember. There was one guy in particular. You definitely know who it was if I mentioned the name. But anyway, this was a long time ago. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the General Assembly and your role in it as the. You have a lot of responsibilities. You're involved with a few other committees, but you are the Senate Chair of the Appropriations Committee, which, as I said before, I personally think, what little I know about the General Assembly, which is probably more than the average person, I think that the Appropriations Committee is probably the most important committee, along with Finance, anyway. But
So the Appropriations Committee, unlike most other committees in the General Assembly, meets 12 months out of the year.
yeah,
We have a meeting next week. We meet at least once or twice a month, all year long, to handle the business of the Appropriations Committee. We do a lot with what we term or call block grants. So those are grants that we agree with the agency that's submitting the grant application to the federal government. We agree with what work that block grant will do. So we do that. In session, in the regular session, we are one of the busiest committees. Finance is also busy, but not quite as busy as Appropriations, and the Judiciary Committee, another very busy committee.
right.
So we have hundreds of meetings, hundreds of hours of meetings. We have agencies that report to us. We have the general public that comes up and talks about how the budget is impacting either their nonprofit or the town that they live in, or any of the other things that we provide resources for. So we make sure that we have enough money going to schools. We make sure that we have enough money going to municipalities. We make sure that nonprofits can pay their staff a living wage. That was something that Representative Walker and I took on to take care of, because we had close to a decade without increasing the dollars for nonprofits. We're almost there, but not quite. We've also have providers that get paid through what we call Medicaid rates, which means that's how much a service costs. And we were not giving the ability for people to get the right rate of pay. That meant a doctor was often losing money anytime they treated somebody, whether it was dental care or regular general practitioner or eyes, or all of the things that we had Medicaid for. So we spent a lot of time trying to address that. We actually have done a lot of work. We still have more work to do, but that's something that we've done a lot of work. The block grant that we're going to work on next week is for low-income heating assistance. So that'll be our next one that we do.
So Representative Walker, Tony Walker, is your House co-chair.
Yes,
and
she
you've
is.
been with her ever since you took on the position of Senate co-chair, because I think she was co-chair before you came
She
on.
was.
Yeah,
Yep.
from New Haven.
Yep, she's
Yeah, I know her very well. And great team you have. And you have a lot of members, too, on the committee, too.
We do. We have one of the largest committees.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the largest, but you know better than I do.
I think the Judiciary
Is that
Committee
right?
is also pretty big, too.
Oh, okay.
But we have over 50.
Yeah, I used to think that all the members, a lot of people I think there are more lawyers in the legislature than there really are. and there are not that many lawyers.
We used to have more than we do
Used
now.
to have more. That's
Yeah,
right.
We used to have more, but we don't have it. As a matter of fact, the Senate co-chair of the Judiciary Committee is not a lawyer, and
I know that.
As,
He's from the city.
Yes,
New
he's
Haven.
also from New Haven too.
Yeah, Gary Winfield.
Good friend. He's a good guy.
Yep.
And but he is not. He's not a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I don't think, we learn a lot in the General Assembly. We
yeah.
take care of a lot of different things.
Great
So-
learning experience. No doubt about you better.
So one of those things that I put in the budget a number of years ago was money for what we call the manufacturing pipeline.
Oh, wonderful.
You talked a little bit about that. So the manufacturing pipeline is a short-term employment program to get people into any kind of manufacturing, welding, sheet metal work, a whole host of things. And that allowed young people and those people who want to change their job to go to something else, to get a job that would provide a better than living wage. So the manufacturing pipeline is something that we really need in Connecticut. The federal government just gave $76.7 billion to Electric Boat to build another 10 or 15 submarines in both the Virginia class and the Columbia class. And they need workers,
Yeah.
and we need to train them. But it's not just Electric Boat that needs those workers, or Pratt & Whitney, or Sikorsky. We have 400 subcontractors that have the smaller business like Marlboro Plastics and a number of
all
others,
over Eastern Connecticut,
Collins and Jewell, Hillary, are all companies that are smaller in nature, but they do this widget or that widget that, and some of them are very big widgets, by the way.
Yeah, I'll bet. Submarine.
So it's a very good program, extremely important for us to have. And Connecticut puts a lot of money in now. We also separated out from the State Department of Education the CTEC system, the VOTEC system. And we have been building up that program because more and more young people, we had, for every seat in the technical schools, we had 3 students that wanted to fill that seat. So we have a waiting list for that. And so what we have done is we have 15 traditional schools, traditional public schools, high schools that are now teaching the programs that the manufacturing pipeline works on. And it's a great program. It was developed not by the state of Connecticut, but by the businesses themselves.
Right.
It's a bottom-up program. Those are my favorite kind of programs because they actually address the issues. And so we have it's at Hebron, it's in Lebanon, it's in Willimantic, it's at NFA in Norwich. It's all up and down. Young people are getting jobs starting at $50,000-$60,000 a year with full benefits, and families are so excited to see their young people get this job that gets them to have a good leg up in our society. Sometimes you make even more than that. So we had a student going from Ram High School up in Hebron to Pratt. They started out at $90,000 a year. That is something that is so impactful on that particular young student, and they don't have any college debt, which is very important. The other thing that's really important is one of my favorite programs is at the community college in Norwich at Three Rivers, and it's a nuclear energy and technology program, and it's a 2-year program. It's paid for entirely by Dominion Millstone, and you start out at about $90,000 a year. They pay for the whole program. They also have you come and work, intern at their place on your summers off. Almost everybody that works there now has gone through that program. They built out the design so that you would learn exactly what you needed to do. These are the kinds of programs that I think our young people are interested in taking. Another component that's happened with the manufacturing pipeline the pipeline program is a portable, scalable program, and it has anchor industries. Pratt is an anchor industry. Electric Boat is an anchor industry. Sikorsky is an anchor industry. And all of the small subcontractors are able to benefit from having the manufacturing pipeline. But we wanted to make sure whatever we put together that young people could get jobs. And that's the most important thing. So there's that. But because it's a portable, scalable program, we're now working on the healthcare pipeline program, which is another place we're looking for an anchor employer. We're hoping that Hartford Healthcare or Yale University or Yale Medical School will take on this and become an anchor employer.
Okay, well, the pipeline program out here is amazing. I know I used to be until a few years ago, and I had to give up coaching because of my arthritic knees. I must have coached for almost, more than 35 years. I was very much plugged into the younger community here. And I'll tell you, most of the kids that I knew quite well were going to tech school.
Right.
And I also knew some people that were not just kids, that were in their 30s and whatnot, who either lost jobs or wanted to change jobs and who got involved in the pipeline. And they're now making really good money at EB or one of the subs. And that is and that's right here in Willimantic. It's important. It's so important. That program is impacting this town of Windham a lot in a very positive way, and it has ever since it's been in place. So that's a real feather in the cap of the industries and the legislature. Fantastic. And I know I never heard about it much in the early days from anybody in the legislature other than yourself and maybe Susan. But that's it. I mean, you're always been, first and foremost in that regard, as far as I know, in the general assembly.
I don't think not every person wants to go to college. They don't have the ability to go to college.
It costs a lot.
It costs a lot, and they just don't feel that they can afford it.
Yeah.
And so if they can't afford it, and it's only going to put stress on the family and them, the pipeline program is a wonderful alternative, and I encourage people to take it. I also encourage people to actually, if you're interested in going to college and you're not really sure what you want to do yet, to go to the community colleges. It's debt-free. You don't have to pay anything, and that is another program that we worked a lot on to make sure that young people could do that. But our state doesn't just have young people in it. We've done a lot of work for seniors.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing a lot more work because the federal government under H.R. 1 has impacted our healthcare system. And under Governor Lamont, we have done a lot of work to erase medical debt. We're also looking to make sure that we're covering healthcare for people. We do not want to see people wait to go to healthcare until they're very, very sick. We want them to actually go. This is National Health Federally Qualified Health Center Week, and so I started my day off with United Children and Family Services down in Norwich, and it's UCFS. It's these federally qualified health centers are a godsend to people that normally would not be able to afford health care. And we're going to see them increase the number of people that they have to take care of.
Now that you're on health care, I know Susan would love to be here. She
I
loves
know.
to talk health care. And talking about the federally qualified health centers, we have, of course, Generations right here.
Right.
And, it's, I think it's a new building. It's not that new, but, in that facility they have now, which is fantastic. They do a lot of good here in town, and for the whole region. Of course, they're all over Windham County, I guess. I maybe beyond that, maybe beyond Windham County. You would know better than I would. But yeah, healthcare is, as somebody who is now at my stage of life, a good customer of healthcare for
That's why I said we have to make sure that we're not just taking care of our children. We're also providing the services necessary for our seniors.
I can tell you,
as one myself.
Yeah. Well, you're not. Not to me, Kathy. But I'm having a great time being still alive, and I want to go on and on and on. And it's only because of the tremendous advances in healthcare that happened since, when my father died of a heart attack at age 50 in 1961. I mean, he made it to the hospital.
My dad died at 60 from a heart attack.
Yeah.
And nowadays, when they take care of somebody, they'll do a quadruple bypass, and you're home for lunch. So
as long as you get to the hospital.
Exactly. If you can get to the hospital, yeah, it's amazing what they can do nowadays.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it is amazing, and I'm so happy. You know, I always say what I've been telling people for years now is I picked the right time to be born, because I was fortunate enough to live when I was very young in an economy that was amazing,
right.
where everybody could have a job. And my parents, who were, did not have special skills, but my mother developed skills when she was working in Landers Ferry and Clark in New Britain in the factory, because she was artistic and she was in the art department. And but my father was, on the assembly lines and stuff. And, but it was great. They were able to buy a house and raise 2 children. And I thought life was great. We didn't have much. We didn't have a car until I was like 13 or 14. We took the bus, we walked, but it was so wonderful. So living through that period when gas was sometimes 25 cents a gallon, and people complain. A lot of people in my generation are complaining all the time about why can't it be like that. I said, well, now we're in competition with the whole world.
Right.
When World War II ended, we really had it pretty much to ourselves for a while. And one thing I didn't mention was we're together here today, and a lot of times when I'm together with another person, I very seldom am together with somebody else who's been in the Army.
Right.
And you did 4 years. I only did 2. But
Yep.
I was in the Army.
Yeah, I was
and the
too.
Army changed my life quite a bit, made it better.
It did, because you get to see what other countries have that, they don't have what we have here.
No, I didn't go to another country, but what I needed to be trained in basic training by World War II veterans who were not willing to take the BS that I would throw at them coming from hard-hit New Britain. So I went in there at mental age 13. I came out as 21, 22, 23. Anyway, it's been great. It's great talking to you. We could go on all day, I think. I know I could. And is there anything that you want to, how much time we have left, Keith?
I got about 12, 13 minutes.
Oh, that much time? Well, we got plenty
Woohoo!
of time. All right, I'll let you talk. I'll let you bring up the next topic. You're
All
pretty
right.
good at it.
Well, I just want to say, when I was in the Army, I can still remember my parents owned a family business, a small restaurant.
Yep.
And in the bowling alley in Norwichtown, and I was the oldest of 7. And I came back one day and I said, Mom, I got a job. And she said, oh, I'm so excited for you, because I worked at the restaurant always, and I could have stayed working there. But, when you're a teenager, you want to actually move to the next thing.
Do something.
So I told my mom, I said, yeah, I got a job. And she said, oh, where are you going to go? I said, I'm going to go into the Army. And this was during the Vietnam era, so
The end of it, yeah.
And the tail end of it.
Yeah, you're good.
And so my mom was like, "We'll talk about this when we get home." And
Oh,
I said,
I
"Well,
understand that.
I said, "Mom, we can talk about it, but I already signed the papers." So
Well, you volunteered. I didn't volunteer. I was vacuumed
volunteered.
up. But I'll tell you what. It was probably the turning point in my life. It really.
I do too. I think so. I think for me it was a good move.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one in my family that did it.
Yeah.
My dad was in the Navy, and both my grandfathers were in the Navy, because we had the sub base here.
Sure,
Even
sure.
back then we had the sub
That's
base,
right.
and so many people were in the Navy. Many of my uncles were in the Navy. So I don't know why I went into the Army. I think it was the first recruiter I came across, and it was exciting. It was truly
As
exciting.
long as we have enough time left, I have another anecdote. You must know who Lloyd Hinchy was.
Yes.
Lloyd Hinchy, and I played ball against Lloyd Hinchy in high school. I was pretty good, but Lloyd Hinchy was a high school All-American. And he was such a nice guy, nice kid.
Yep.
Went to Holy Cross, started for Holy Cross when they were really good.
Yep.
And he walked into my court. I hadn't seen him in decades, and I was in the probate court. He walked into my court one day, and I looked at him. I said, he used to have a crew cut when he was, in high school.
Yeah.
I had a crew cut.
Yeah.
And I said, are you Lloyd Hinchy? He said, yeah, I'm Dennis O'Brien. I said, we played against each other many times in high school. We were the same.
Yep.
And I was so sorry, because his wife, his wife became mayor of Norwich.
Yeah, she did a great job.
She did. She's wonderful. She came up when I did a charter revision commission, and I asked her to come up
Yeah.
and to tell us all about Norwich's system, just for input. And she was wonderful. She showed up before I did, and all the members. She was waiting in the meeting room. I was so sorry to find out that Lloyd had passed away.
Yeah.
But I was so pleased to know that when he was brought to the cemetery, they stopped in front of NFA and paid tribute to him because he deserved it. He was not only a great athlete; he was a great human being, and you
Yep.
probably knew him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
wonderful
Yeah, he was a
guy.
really,
I
really
I
wonderful
miss Lloyd.
person. Yeah, he was really a great person.
So anyway, talk a little bit more about your role as the chair of appropriations. To me, being chair of that committee, making the kind of decisions that committee makes regarding funding, that's why it's a very, very important committee. And I know that you play a major role in, not only officially but unofficially. Like for example, you're helping other legislators to you're mentoring people, you're helping them with other things, and I mean all the things that you do. You are a full-time legislator.
Pretty much, yes. I work a lot of hours, but it's not only.
I would say so.
It's not only because of appropriations, but I represent 100,000 constituents,
Yes.
and people have problems, and
Yeah.
so it's always important
Yeah.
to try to do whatever we can to help them out. I always tell, I have one person who works with me as a staff member. A lot of people think we have a lot of staff. I have one, and so
It better be good if you got one.
he is
You gotta.
he's good, but I always say I'm not here to apologize for state agencies. I'm here to fix it so that someone can get the resources that
Right.
they need. And relative to being in appropriations, it's a collaborative. It's working together. And so Representative Walker, who is my co-chair, she is from an urban legislator, and I'm more of a rural
Yeah,
kind
sure.
of sort of.
Compared to New Haven, yes.
Compared to New Haven, we
Yes,
are rural,
definitely.
and the towns that I represent are more rural. We did a lot of work this session, we essentially stabilized the dairy industry in Connecticut. In other states, they did not do that, and they lost 50% of their dairy farms. We don't want to lose 50% of our dairy farms. We want to make sure that we have enough resources. And another thing that people may or may not know is that milk is considered a commodity. The price of milk is set by the federal government. It's not set by the dairy farm. It does not necessarily go up based on the cost of insurance or fuel or feed or health care for the animals that they have. That is decided by the federal government. And so they get a subsidy from the federal government, but they had dropped their subsidy. And most of them were seeing a loss in revenue of $100,000 a month. Imagine if your business lost $100,000 a month with no loss in expenses. So we did a lot of work. Representative Walker and I did a lot of work to fix that system this year. We did essentially. We staved off a loss of our dairy.
Yeah, I once represented a dairy farmer in one of your towns, and years ago I knew nothing at all about it. I'm a city boy, knew nothing at all about it. So I spent a day with this person, and I went around the farm and saw all the things that they'd have to do that I wouldn't have thought of.
Right.
It's just amazing. I know there's an awful lot of younger people who grow up in farm families, from what I understand, don't want to continue on. And that's another problem they have, because it is hard work.
Right.
And it's not, I asked one guy who was a farmer in a town that is not one of your towns, and I said, I said, do you ever take a vacation? Do you ever get a chance to go? Do you ever get a chance to go to Europe or anything like that? He says, no, I watch what's his name, the travel guy on TV, Rick Steves. I get my travels through Rick Steves. I said, you know what? Lately, I've been getting my foreign travel through Rick Steves too, because I continue to be busy, and I don't move around as well as I used to, and traveling around is harder for me now. But anyway, I think I was aware of what you all did in the legislature to work with the farms and to try to ensure that we don't suffer the same fate that other states have had and lose half of our dairy
Right.
farms. That's essential. It's so good to be able to get milk from right next door.
Right.
And
And it's not just dairy. Dairy is the basic industry. It also supports most of the other types of agriculture in the state.
Right.
They have to grow corn. They have to grow hay.
Yeah, that's right.
That supports farmland.
Yep.
It's the largest part of what comes in on rail is to help out with dairy. These are things that we have to pay attention to. So
Yeah. Well, that's your district is diverse in terms of its.
Yep.
You have Norwich. Norwich is certainly a city. It's like more. So its population is over
Right.
40,000, I believe.
not quite. No, it
Well,
was about 39,000. So they had lost a number of people. But
Yeah, well,
starting to build back up again.
Hey, when I was growing up in New Britain was almost 100,000, and West Hartford was about 20. I was right next door to West Hartford, and now West Hartford's over 70. Everybody seems to want to live in West Hartford from
No, I
Central
guess
Connecticut.
it's crowded. It's densely
Yeah.
populated in West Hartford.
It is crowded, and there's an awful lot of streets in West Hartford that are very urbanized. They're very close to each other. There's not a lot of small lots and whatnot. It's not what people may think it is. But when I was town attorney in Mansfield, I remember Matt Hart. I worked for 14 years with Matt Hart, and then he went to West Hartford. We used to consider West Hartford Mansfield West,
Right.
because it's very similar in terms of the population, not the student population, of course. But anyway, the state is always changing, and I must say, I have to say this, that I want to kind of run this by you since we have a little time left. That we have, I've always felt that we suffer a lot in Connecticut by not having a big city like Boston. I think big cities are more cosmopolitan. They're more diverse. I think people who are of a different race or different whatever, who are different, do better in big cities than they do in smaller places. And I just think that the oldest high school in the country is Boston Latin. The second oldest was Hartford Public until I played ball at Hartford Public. I go back that far, and I'm sure that Lloyd Hinchey did too because they played Hartford High too. But I just think that if we could take Hartford, this will never happen in my lifetime or yours, and consolidate it with all the surrounding towns and make it into a big city, it would make a big difference.
I think that we need to look at a lot of different things. I don't think that will.
There are a lot of things that we need to look at in terms of our structure,
Right.
because our structure, as I've said
Fragmented.
everywhere, is a horse and buggy structure, and we're now living in the computer age, the AI, all that stuff,
Right.
and we're really not. Because I represent small towns, and I go there and I say, wow, they have trouble finding. They're looking for part-time help doing jobs that are very
Right.
difficult, and it's very, very hard. So I think that if I were to come back 50 years from now, which I won't, well, who knows, and I think I would find that there are fewer towns and especially fewer school districts in Connecticut.
I think that it's good to have the districts that we have. We should look at the administration first. And I think we're getting towards the very tail end of where we are.
So you have the final minute.
So I think that it's
The last word.
important for us to work together to solve problems and figure out where we want to go. And please, I would ask that you call your legislators, let them know what you think about things. It's important. Stay involved in working with everybody. And thank you very much for having me on again today.
It's great to have you on. It's great to see you. Great to have you on the air. It's like old times, but you brought me up to date. This is Dennis O'Brien without Susan Johnson, but I'm here with State Senator Kathy Austin, and Keith C. Rice, and we will be back next week with another great show.